Welcome back to Middlesex Moments, coming to you from Middlesex Community College. This is Steve Minkler, together with my two guests in studio, Tracy Ariel, who's Program Director of Manufacturing. Hi, Tracy.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And Tad Lincoln, Professor of Economics and Social Sciences. Hi, Tad.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me, too.
So I think I'm going to start with Tracy. You are new to the college in the last few months as our new Program Director for Manufacturing. Tell us a little about your background and what brought you here to Middlesex.
All right. Well, I have spent a little over 30 years in the manufacturing industry. I started out in human resources, went into production control for aerospace companies in the state, several different ones. And then I went into production control, quality control, and environmental health and safety. I had an opportunity to work for the Board of Regents and bring manufacturing education to the community college system, and then happily ended up here.
And when you worked for the Board of Regents, you were involved in an initiative called the Connecticut Advanced Manufacturing Program, which was a major federal grant, was it?
It was, and we received the grant due to the fact that the state had already contributed $20 million to building out the manufacturing technology centers. The federal government recognized that initiative and awarded us an additional $15 million.
And that was intended to build out the capacity of these types of programs at the community colleges and some of the technical schools in our state.
Right. And so we had the one manufacturing technology center at Isnuntuck initially. The first $20 million went to build the programs at Naugatuck Valley, Housatonic, and Quinnebog Valley in Danielson. And then the CAMI grant, as it's called, also increased manufacturing education opportunities at Three Rivers, Middlesex, and Manchester community colleges. And here we are today.
Here we are, yeah.
Yeah.
And Tad Lincoln, as a professor of economics, but you yourself have worked in manufacturing in a prior part of your career. You've been part of some of the conversations that this college has had with companies in the area. And how do you see the role of manufacturing in the Middletown, Connecticut River Valley, and how that extends to the kinds of work that we need to do as a college to support our employers?
Right. Critically important work that we do. There's currently a shortage of qualified manufacturing workers here in Connecticut. And if those companies can't fill those positions, those companies will leave, and we have had some leave. So it's very important that we train the numbers that these companies are looking for. In the last couple of years in particular, they've been looking for a lot of people. There have been a lot of retirements, and there have been a lot of new contracts with companies here in the state. So we have our work cut out for us to make sure we train enough people for these companies. And I can't say enough to listeners of this show that there's a dire need for you in the state. If you're, say, getting out of high school and you want to get a job, you can take a 1-year program and you can get a full-time job with benefits. And if you do decent in that program, you're almost guaranteed a good job with benefits. And it might be a great job. And if you do really well and get really high grades, your chances of getting a great job are even better. But there is such a dire need for those people. So I would say to any listener, get in touch with Tracy Ariel here at the college, or come to the college and talk to anybody, and they'll put you in touch with the right people, because there are jobs just waiting for you.
And Tracy, you've been hearing this as you've been going around promoting the college's program.
Right, absolutely. And I was going to jump in and talk about the reason why the state gave the community colleges the money to build the programs in the first place, that first $20 million, and why the federal government has shared so much funding to do this across the country, not just in Connecticut, is really because of what they call the skills gap, where there was a generation of people that were not necessarily interested in taking and being trained in the trades, more going on to higher education as their route. So we have a generational gap of people that are just not trained in the field, and that's manufacturing as well as plumbing and electrical and all of the trades. But here in Connecticut, we're in a unique position, and the reason why we have so many job openings, as Tad mentioned, is that Sikorsky, Electric Boat, and Pratt & Whitney, the three big companies in Connecticut, have all received federal contracts, which, will be several generations, 30, 40 years worth of work for all of those companies. And now we have the increased need, along with the shortage of workers being trained. Now we have an increased need to have additional workers to fill those federal contracts.
And what are some things that that you've done in your time working in the academic side of the house, so to speak, in your time in Connecticut, that you've tried to do to reduce maybe the stigma or change the perception of what manufacturing is all about, so that young people really are attracted to this kind of work?
So I think it's really important that we have reached out into the middle schools and high schools, changing the perception for not only the students but the parents, reminding them, because those of our generation remember our parents being laid off from manufacturing facilities and companies closing, where basically teaching them that this is an opportunity. It's a much safer environment than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. And it is a career. It's a pathway to career, not just a job. So, but those middle school students, those high school students, that's where you start.
Mm-hmm. Can I add something to that? I would say that even if you are a high school student and you want to be, say, an engineer, and I happened to, in my previous life, before I was teaching, I was an engineer and went into engineering management. That was the path that brought me into manufacturing years ago. But if you want to be an engineer, a great way to start is to take a 1-year program in manufacturing and work for a couple years. Get some hands-on experience. While you're working there, you can start taking engineering courses. The community colleges offer associate's degrees in engineering that transfer very nicely to the CSUs and even to UConn. And if you do that, you get that hands-on experience, then you get that engineering degree, you will be dangerous. Well, not really dangerous, but you will be sought after by almost any company, because most of the engineering graduates have minimal to no hands-on experience. And I know I got out of engineering school. I was fortunate to get a job right away. But some of those graduates had a tough time getting a job, and there's sometimes a perception that they're good theoretically, but they don't know how things really work. You get that hands-on experience, you'll be able to get a good job with benefits, you'll be able to make some money that'll help you get through school, and your chances of getting a really good engineering job are excellent once you get out of engineering school because you have that experience.
So most of the companies that I've worked for in the past, have their engineering teams all had worked their way up on the floor, regardless of their higher education. You start out on the floor, you learn the machines, and then you go into design and engineering. So it's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and sometimes the companies will help you pay, say, while you're working, help pay for that engineering degree or some of those courses. Yeah.
And the state of Connecticut has provided some incentives for employers to get some of their own employees retrained or get them some of those the practical experiences through apprenticeships and other types of experiences like that.
So we have the Department of Labor has given grants to companies for on-the-job training, as well as paying for their instruction if a student is in a qualified apprenticeship program or a sponsorship. As well as other grants. So the state has a manufacturing innovation fund, which gives employers additional funding to hire people right out of the community college programs. We have a 95% placement rate, and we say 95% for those people who don't necessarily want to go to work. But if you want to work in manufacturing right now, there's a job for you. So, now the companies are hiring internally, or I say in the state, because of all these incentives. I think if you use all of the programs at once, it's $21,000 per employee per year to bring a student in. So, great opportunities.
Absolutely.
Unique. Yeah.
Yes. And Middlesex Community College recently joined a partnership to entice people who may be thinking about this kind of career called Skill Up for Manufacturing. Tell the listeners more about that program and what just happened with that program and where we're going with it.
So Skill Up is a program, it's a pipeline program that was originally started on the eastern side of the state with Electric Boat. The idea is that people who are underemployed, unemployed, or new to the workforce that are interested in learning about manufacturing, they're short-term programs, 5 weeks long, The student gets a basic introduction to blueprint reading, a little bit of hands-on machining, mills and lathes. But again, it's 5 weeks. It's short term. There's a direct connection with the employers in the area, so they come in and they meet all the students. And the idea is initially was to build a pipeline for electric boat, but now it's a pipeline to other manufacturers. So we here in this area are focusing on aerospace, and the smaller second tier and third tier machine shops that are working with electric boat and the aerospace companies. We had a very successful summer program. The people in that program worked their butts off. But it was, we had a couple students that actually have now come into Middlesex and are continuing their education, and the rest of them are either employed or interviewing now. Yeah.
And where was that program held?
So with our partnership at Vinyl Technical High School, we here at Middlesex, so we don't have, as you know, we don't have the facilities to do those programs here, but we have great partnerships with Wilcox Technical High School in Meriden, as well as Vinyl Technical High School. So we use their machine shops during the day, or we use them at night whenever there's availability because the most important part of these programs is the hands-on piece. It's a skilled trade, so we need to make sure the students, along with the theoretical, get their skills.
Yeah, and exactly what Tad was saying. I mean, we've heard that throughout our time here at the college and talking to the various companies in the area, that this is something that they are willing to support, and even to the point of letting us use some of their space. So we are actively looking for industry partners. So combine that with the college and what we can do in providing faculty and credentialing, together with the technical high schools and our industry partners, just to give those students that real world experience. As you were saying,
Absolutely.
Tad, without that, they're going to be with that, they're going to be much more valuable than without it.
Right, and if they happen to be high school students at Vinyl or Vinyl or Wilcox in Meriden, then you might be able to work with Middlesex and work on getting a manufacturing certificate or make progress towards a manufacturing associate's degree before you even graduate from high school. So you'd be able to get a good job with benefits even more quickly than others. So if you're a high school student, definitely look into that. It's a great opportunity.
So on that note, the technical high schools at the community colleges, when they originally were building the programs, specifically aligned what are called National Institute of Metalworking Skills credentials, and they are the industry national credential. The technical high school students that get some of those credentials, they can then get additional credentials along them towards a Machinist 1 level at Middlesex Community College, or any of the community colleges, but at Middlesex Community College.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, time for a quick break. So when we come back, more about the manufacturing programs at Middlesex Community College with Tracy Ariel and Tad Lincoln. You're listening to Middlesex Moments, coming to you on air at WLIS WMRD and online at mxcc.edu. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
When I was about 5 years old, my dad brought me to Child's Bring to Work Day to meet my grandparents and to see what they did. And it was the coolest thing watching them work on the airplane engine parts. And I said, one day I want to work at Pratt & Whitney and just be like them.
After working as an EMT for 5 years, I decided to change careers.
I would recommend manufacturing as a career because right now, manufacturing is growing.
Students will find that they won't have too much trouble finding jobs, especially in Connecticut. It's reliable work, it's solid schedule.
I would have students come to Middlesex because it's such a great atmosphere here.
The facilities are excellent, the teachers here are very knowledgeable.
And the teachers want to help you learn. They want to see you move ahead in life at the best of your ability.
With the technical skills and knowledge that I gained through classes, it gave me the confidence I needed to be successful at the job that I have now. I currently work at Hobson Motzer. I am a CNC technician.
My current position at Pratt & Whitney is I'm an airfoil cell production operator. I run CNC bloom grinders. My job, it's different every day. Sometimes I have to change out a grinding wheel, or sometimes I can do 70 parts a night. Watching these engines start up it's exciting knowing I made those blades.
Anyone who likes to have a hands-on approach to learning or who takes a hands-on approach to their job, it's a good career for them.
This is so amazing. I never thought my dreams would come true as a 20-year-old.
Welcome back to Middlesex Moments, coming to you from Middlesex Community College. This is Steve Minkler, together with my guests, Tracy Ariel, Program Director of Manufacturing, and Tad Lincoln, Professor of Economics and Social Sciences, talking about Middlesex Community College's manufacturing programs. In our first segment, we learned a little bit about Tracy's background in the manufacturing industry. And Tad, before you became a college faculty member, you yourself worked in manufacturing. And kind of quickly, what kind of roles did you play in business before coming to the college?
Sure. I had a different life. I graduated from the University of Connecticut with an engineering degree, and I worked as an engineer for quite a few years with a Connecticut company. And so I worked in engineering. I became a senior engineer, a director of engineering, and eventually a general manager over a facility that was part manufacturing and part engineering. In the middle there somewhere, I was also a program manager over some manufacturing lines. And as an engineer, I did various kinds of engineering, including manufacturing engineering. So I was sent down to South Carolina for a few years, where I worked with a few different manufacturing lines down there. I loved it. And in some ways, I miss it. I love my job that I have now, but I think manufacturing, if I can mix that with the economics teaching that I'm doing now and the economics background that I got later, I think that manufacturing is critically important to our economy in the country, but here in the state of Connecticut in particular, because we have such a relative to the whole country, a relatively large and robust manufacturing sector, but it's smaller than it once was relative to the rest of the country, and partly because we haven't trained enough manufacturing people. So I'm hoping that we can get more people into our manufacturing programs here at Middlesex Community College, and those students can help themselves by getting a very good job with benefits, and also help the Connecticut economy.
And it sounds like because you have worked in industry and now are in the college, you really would appreciate the partnerships that must be formed in order to have a program like this succeed. And Tracy, that's really been one of your goals since coming to Middlesex, is to strengthen the partnerships that the college has had and really needs to work on. So what kind of alliances have you formed with some of the companies in our area that have helped us form the curriculum as we now know it?
So we discovered early on that industry partnerships, industry input was really what made the success of the manufacturing programs. So I myself, when I was working up in the northern part of the state, was an industry partner with both Nantucket and Manchester Community College. We sat and we spoke about curriculum, what made the students successful when they came out on the floor, what skills they needed to have, which included not only those trade skills, but also employability skills, how we really prepared students to be productive in the workplace. So here at Middlesex, we really needed to rebuild those partnerships as we are building out these programs. We are now at a juncture where our students are taking evening classes, but we're building out other program, like we had discussed a plastics program for the plastics industry. We have quite a few plastics people in Connecticut, but New England itself is a hub for plastics, including smaller employers like Webco and Westminster Tool, but larger companies like Medtronic and Schick are also here in Connecticut. So there's a lot of opportunities. It's just a matter of having the industry come in and inform us as educators what the students are going to need to be able to work in their workplace.
And we get that input both informally through just meeting with some of these, the folks who own these companies, but also through an advisory board that you manage on behalf of the college.
And we will be having an advisory board coming up in September. We will meet now with the employers at least twice a year. So again, if we're going to be building curriculum, we need the employers here to be talking about it. But they also need to become familiar with our community and our students and our culture. And the only way to do that is to have them here. Right. So.
And in our first segment, we talked about the Skill Up for Manufacturing sort of boot camp type of experience for people who might be interested in this, and that was a 5-week intensive program. But we have everything from that up to a full 2-year associate degree. So if you can walk our listeners through the different flavors, if you will, of the manufacturing program at Middlesex Community College, it'll give them an idea of what we have to offer.
So we talked about the 5-week. But then we have a certificate program, which is, if it was done straight through, would take you 2 semesters. Includes blueprint reading, some conventional machining, as well as CNC or computer numerically controlled programming of the computers. Again, introductory, but it goes more into the manufacturing math and all of the basic tools you'll need to walk into an industry. And I should have started with safety. Safety is a huge component of each of our classes, but our students receive an OSHA 10 card as part of the program, as well as career services. So the certificate with your credentials for OSHA, as well as the National Institute or NIMS credentials that I mentioned earlier, the certificate program provides those to the students in a 10-month program. And then we have, of course, the associate's degree, where the students, along with those credits that they've received in the certificate program, then would take their general education requirements for an associate's degree. Both good pathways to employment and provide direction in the industry.
And if a student wanted to take their associate degree and transfer to get their bachelor's, is that possible?
Yeah, so we have a program through our College of Technology, which is a National Science Foundation run program. But what it did was it built programs, built a transfer pathway to Central Connecticut State University. So all 60 credits with your associate's degree, all 60 credits will transfer automatically to Central Connecticut.
That's great.
Yeah.
And Tad, putting on your economist hat for a moment. So if we have a more vibrant workforce in this part of the state of Connecticut, how does that kind of play out into what our communities look like, sort of writ large? People.
Yeah, that's a good question. If we can satisfy all of the needs of our manufacturers with enough manufacturing employees, enough manufacturing workers, I think we have a huge opportunity to get our state growing again, because as far as, for example, the population of our state's been shrinking for quite a few years. The thing is, we're already here. So there are states around this country who are dying to attract manufacturing companies. Well, we've got them here, and we need to keep them, and it's a lot easier to keep them here than it is to attract them from another state. They're already here, and we need to give them the manufacturing workers that they need. So if we can get these companies growing and get these manufacturing workers provided to these employers as quickly as possible, we have an opportunity to grow our economy much more quickly than it is now, and probably even pull in some workers of various levels from other states and start growing our economy, growing our population, and growing the wealth of the state, because manufacturing is a key aspect of economic growth. It creates value in an economy in a way that services don't. So you're able to grow your economy faster. You're able to grow your wealth faster with manufacturing, and it's a general problem with the country as a whole. We've lost a lot of our manufacturing. We've replaced it with a lot of services that just don't provide as much wealth for our citizens. So we can grow our economy, we can grow it faster, we can raise our standard of living. And as I said, since the companies are already here, all we have to do is provide them with enough manufacturing workers. With the demand there is for them right now, we can grow our economy substantially, and all of us will have a higher standard of living as a result.
So where Connecticut is too, if you agree to this, where Connecticut is located in the country has a lot to do with how successful we can be in this field. Agreed?
Absolutely, yes. No,
So-
absolutely.
So Tracy, if someone wanted to find out more about our programs, whether they're an employer who wants to partner with us or a student who is interested in getting into this field, what do they have to do?
So you have to give me a call. My telephone number is 860-512-2635, or they can email me at tariel@mcc.comnet.edu.
Okay, and that's Ariel, T-A-R-I-E-L.
Yes.
At mcc.comnet.edu.
At mcc.comnet.edu.
And of course, they can look at our website, mxcc.edu, for a lot of information about the program, too.
Right, and the Skill Up program link is up there as well. So if they, all the pathways are listed.
And then if any listeners missed any of that, you can always just come here to campus and talk to somebody in our main building, Founders Hall, and anybody will help you find what you need.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So when does the next Skill Up cohort begin?
So we're looking to start the cohort in October 21st. And, as logistics go, that is the plan. And then hopefully, if everything comes together, we'll have a plastics program as well come January. Both those programs will be held at Vinyl Technical High School in Middletown.
Great. And so, Tracy, what do you see in the future for this program and how it might evolve?
In Middletown, we are uniquely placed, and there are many, many employers that are not only in need of these the students to have these kind of skills, but that are want to work with Middlesex. So the programs are going to grow. Right now our programs, our class offerings are in the evening so that students can work during the day. But my plan is to have one during the day as well, so that both whether or not a traditional student or someone who's working, they'll be able to take classes and be able to get their certificates and associate's degrees. I would like everybody employed and all of our industry partners happy.
Right.
So that's the ultimate goal.
Okay. Well, that kind of wraps up our time here together on Middlesex Moments. So I really want to thank Tracy Ariel, Program Director of Manufacturing. Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you.
And Tad Lincoln, Professor of Economics and Social Science and formerly in the manufacturing business before getting into college teaching. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you, Steve.
And as always, I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us here on air at WLAS WMRD and all the good people at that radio station for helping get the word out about Middlesex Community College. And thanks to all of you, our listeners, for joining us for another edition of Middlesex Moments. As Tad said earlier, please visit us on our main campus at 100 Training Hill Road in Middletown, where you can see all of our programs, not just manufacturing, but all that we have to offer. You can also visit us at our Meriden Center located at Platt High School, 220 Coe Avenue, where we offer afternoon and evening classes 4 days a week. And of course, you can visit us online 24/7 at mxcc.edu. So for everyone at Middlesex Community College, this is Steve Minkler, and we hope to see you again soon.